Okay. Meeting call to order. New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have the advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the business administrator, board secretary, has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, communicated to the Hawthorne press, the record, and filed with the clerk of the borough of Hawthorne. Roll call, please.
Mr. Polito?
Here.
Ms. Goff? Mr. Palouse?
Here.
Mr. Reicher?
Here.
Ms. Sanford?
Here.
Mr. Sciarra?
Here.
Mr. Para?
Here.
Mr. Turco?
Here.
Mr. Doyle?
Here. Would everyone please rise and join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting regulations. During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity, early on the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for the purpose of addressing items listed for approval on this agenda only. The second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that is pertinent to and or directly related to the operation of the school district. Persons wishing to speak must, upon being recognized, rise, sign in, state their name, address, and subject matter. Comments and questions shall be addressed to the board president or the presiding officer and shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. The board may or may not respond to issues raised by members of the public at the time they are raised, but will provide a response if and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not respond to comments regarding students or board employees in light of the privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discourages comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during this public session should carefully consider their comments, since they could be held personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note that in accordance with district policy, the board will not officially comment or respond to any matter mentioned unless it can confirm that the matter has first been brought to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in an attempt to resolve the issue. That being said, public be heard, agenda items only. All right, seeing no one, we'll move on. Approval of minutes for July 16, 2019.
Motion.
Second.
Motion Tom, second by Alice. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Polito?
Yes.
Ms. Goff? Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Sciarra?
Abstain.
Mr. Para?
Abstain.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. Correspondence, Mr. Springer.
Okay, just a couple of things. First of all, I want to just mention that the parent portal is currently open for Lincoln Middle School and Hawthorne High School, and all schedules, as well as other information, has to be acknowledged. All the documents that have to be acknowledged are available on our website and through the parent portal. The 6th grade students actually received their schedules at the conclusion of leadership camp last week, but all the other schedules, grades 7 through 12, are now available on the parent portal. I mentioned leadership camp. I want to thank the many people for another great leadership camp. We had 145 students attend out of approximately 206 entering Lincoln Middle School in the fall. And again, I want to thank the mayor, the council, the Hawthorne Police Department, who really run the entire event. There were members from the National Guard, the Municipal Alliance, who helps fund the event. Mr. Agnes, a longtime teacher, now retired teacher, and said he's been hosting or running the leadership camp for 19 years. Mr. Drew, Mr. Kolk, and this year Sergeant Delalo ran leadership camp. Captain Nepper's been running it for many years, but Sergeant Delalo is now in charge of running it and did a wonderful job in his first year. Also have to thank the 8th grade student ambassadors for their leadership during the week. It's really a great event for our kids, for our 6th graders, and of course another successful week of leadership camp. So thanks to everybody who contributed and made it a special week for our kids. The other thing I want to mention, Mrs. Trebona will be holding our new teacher orientation on August 21st and 22nd, tomorrow and Thursday. It's a 2-day orientation. It's organized by Mrs. Trebona. It includes training on teacher evaluation, technology integration, real-time school safety, and a lot of other items. Mr. Brislin plays an important part. Chief McAuliffe does meet with the new staff members to talk about school security as well. So we'll be hosting that in the next couple of days. I don't want to take anything from the Buildings and Grounds report, so I'll just simply share that a lot of summer projects going on, and it's coming along really well. I just want to commend Mr. Chamberlain for his efforts in making sure that all the summer work is being completed in a timely fashion. Finally, all of our full sports teams have begun practicing and are actually hosting scrimmages this week. So I'm looking forward to a great fall season. That's it. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Mr. Sprito. All right, moving on to curriculum and instruction. Bruce, can you take care of that for us?
Sure, no problem. Pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Committee on Curriculum and Instruction recommends the following resolutions. CI1 through CI7 on page 3. CI8 through CI17 on page 4. CI18 through CI29 on page 5. CI30 through CI32 on page 6. And then on the goldenrod, page 18, CI80 through CI86. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second. Second by Mr. Turco. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Goff? Mr. Paluce?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Sciarra?
Yes.
Mr. Farah?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
And Mr. Doyle?
Yes. Bruce, could you do personnel report?
Sure. Following resolutions are pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. P33 and P34 on page 6. P35 through P42 on page 7. P43 through P54 on page 8. On page 9 all the way to P62, because of P54 all the way through P62. And on page 10, P64 through P66, and page 11, P67 through P69. And then on the goldenrod, page 19, P87 through P94. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Any discussion? Yes.
Just want to ask Mr. Streeter, how are you doing with the filling of vacancies?
Got a lot.
Yeah,
I think we have 23 new staff members, some on maternity leaves or medical leave, some on leave replacements. A lot of positions to fill this year. We're down to about 1 or 2. We had a couple you'll see on the agenda. There was one person who accepted and then got a full-time job. It was a leave replacement, got a full-time position. So she moved on. So that was one. It's a math leave replacement. Actually, might be the last one we have left. But we're in pretty good shape. Like I said, out of the 23 new staff members, I believe 19 are coming in the next couple of days. So far so good, but a couple more to go.
Keeps you somewhat busy at that point.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Paluce?
Abstain from P55, yes, no,
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Sciarra?
Yes.
Mr. Farah?
Abstain from P62, yes to everything else.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff? Mr. Doyle?
Yes. Finance and administration, Tanya, please.
Pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions. F70 through F72 on page 11, F73 on pages 12 and 13, and F95 on page 19 of the Goldenrod Addendum. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Sciarra?
Yes.
Mr. Farah?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff? Mr. Paluce?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. All right, moving on to claims. I had the pleasure of handling the bills this month. As usual, everything appeared to be in order. I had no questions. So, in accordance with NJAC 6A:23-2, 11B, C3 and C4, I make a recommendation that the bills be paid for the month of August.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mrs. Garrett?
On claim number, vendor number 2875, yes with reservations. On claim number, vendor number 3650, I'm going to abstain, yes on all.
Mr. Tara?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
With reservation on 2875 as well, yes on everything else.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff? Mr. Palousse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Mr. Joy?
Yes. Buildings and grounds, please, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee of Building and Grounds recommends the following resolutions. On page 14, BG 75 through BG 76. Moving on to page 15, BG 77 through 78. And on page 16, BG 79. I have nothing on goldenrod. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second. Seconded by Mr. Palousse. Do we have any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mrs. Garrett?
Yes with reservations on BG 75, 76, 77, and 78.
Mr. Tara?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
With reservation on BG 76, 77, 78, and 79, yes on everything else.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff? Mr. Palousse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Mr. Joy?
Yes. All right, moving on to committee and liaison reports. Alex, you have anything on negotiations?
No, nothing, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. All right, referendum. I do have a short referendum report. So the referendum committee met on Monday, August 12th. Great news to report, as most of you already know. So initially, when we had to file for the referendum, we were concerned, and so was our engineering service, that some of the projects we had to submit may not be eligible for 40% debt service. We just received notification from the BOE, Department of Education, that the referendum was approved. That's why it was on the agenda tonight. That's why we voted for it. But the very special news about that is everything that we submitted in that referendum as submitted, because the engineer did such a great job, because our administrators and our business administrators did such a great job, everything is eligible. Every item, every project that's submitted in the referendum is eligible for that 40% debt service, which is tremendous. If that referendum is to be passed, that is a tremendous, tremendous savings to the district. Next meeting, September 17th, the next general meeting, we're going to be offering tours for anyone who's interested in seeing the facilities. We're going to offer tours at Lincoln Middle School and the high school. The meeting's actually going to be held at the high school. We're going to start at 6:15. We're going to open up the meeting, and then as part of Mr. Spirito's report, if there are anyone in attendance who would like a tour, we are going to give a short tour of the high school. Then we will be happy to bus you over to Lincoln Middle School, and we can give you the tour of the middle school as well. Then we will bus you back to the high school and continue with the meeting. So once again, if anyone's interested, that's going to be in the newspaper and out on social media as well, and on the calendars. The current flyer that we've already been distributing with information on the referendum, we're working on modifying it. Matter of fact, it has been modified. It's going to be converted into a mailer that's going to be going out to the community roughly no more than a week before the referendum. So we're working on that. We're also doing some voiceovers to coincide with some of the social media postings that have been out there. We're also moving forward with our engineer designing some high-impact graphics that are going to be placed in every one of our schools as a sample of some of the work that's going to be done. Mr. Spirito's been working with the engineer to identify high-traffic areas in the schools where these would be most appropriate to put and that people would see. And we'll be showcasing those on Back to School Night. Hawthorne Day is Saturday, September 21st. The board plans on having a table or two on Hawthorne Day also to, hand out some literature, answer any questions about the referendum, so we'll be there. We also talked about possibly purchasing some additional banners and lawn signs to get the word out about the referendum. And that's all I have to report. Moving on to curriculum and instruction. Bruce, you have something to report?
Yes.
Thank you.
We met on Monday, August 12th for an hour, 5:30 to 6:30. There were two main items that were on here. One was an update on NJTSS, which is New Jersey Tier System of Support. This was a grant that we applied for the state. We did not get the grant, but we did get the training, and they want this implemented in all schools. So we're going to be transitioning the whole district K through 12 to this. Megan Robbie is going to handle the elementary. She went with the training with Mr. Tribona, the director of the curriculum. They've all been trained on this, and we're ready to go. The first day, opening day for the whole district, everybody will be trained in the morning. So this will be a K through 12 initiative, not an elementary initiative, but everyone's going to get the same training and go to this RTI model. Professional development for that day in the afternoon. K through 5 will be math. 6 through 8 will be SEL math, and in the high school 9 through 12, we brought in a trainer, Rich Kiker, to train the high school teachers on all things Google. More things about the PD days coming up. The special teachers, specialists, they are actually getting PD from the behaviorist. That was something that they requested that they're going to get. There is an organizational chart for implementation of this. The whole district-wide data team, instructional aides, non-instructional teams have been developed. And again, everybody K through 12 will be trained. And for the parents, the Hawthorne NJTSS handbook and information will be on the website. And the biggest difference is now these teachers will push into the classrooms instead of students being pulled out of the classroom for basic skills. K through 11, everybody will be screened for math and language arts. And the bulk of Megan Robbie is going to be a literary piece in kindergarten through 3. That's where it will start. And then eventually, well, there will be programs already in the middle and high school, but that's where the focus will be in the elementary school. And that was it.
Thank you, Bruce. Do we have anything to report on policy? Not that we're aware of, right? Nothing on policy? HEF, CPAC, PTOs, family engagement. Anthony?
Real quick, just on CPAC and have one of the leaders said to me, we unconsciously took off most of the summer, so we're starting to get back into thinking about school, and hopefully we'll get back on track with this. But CPAC just wanted to remind us that we're still doing the pool tabs. We're going to start collecting again in September. I think we have 650 pounds, if I'm correct. I'll double check on that. And we're well on our way to the goal. It's a Ronald McDonald House event. And then with HEF, besides the ongoing projects, right now they're planning a 50-50, a big giant 50-50, $10 a ticket. Hopefully sell 500 tickets. That's $5,000 that they'll be able to raise. And 50-50, do the math. You can see what you can win for $10. That drawing will be on November 19th. And next meeting I'll have more details and I'll let everybody know where you can start to buy tickets. That concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, buildings and grounds and New Jersey school boards.
Nothing on New Jersey school boards. I also want to thank Mrs. Spreel for letting me have my meeting notes this time and not hijacking it on me. The committee did not meet this past month, but we did get an update from our building and ground supervisor, Mr. Chamberlain, and it's a laundry list of things that we've completed. So sit down and get comfortable, because here we go. The locker rooms at Lincoln Middle Schools have been painted, and the floors have been coated with the epoxy coating. We're installing new partitions around the toilets. Lockers will hopefully be installed this week. The new LED lights have been installed in the basement of Lincoln Middle School. The hallways, food rooms, art rooms, and locker rooms have been upgraded. Paintings in the hallways at Lincoln Middle School basement should be completed by the end of the week. The main office at the high school has been remodeled. New carpeting, paint, and refurbished main counter. They removed the principal's office to the old vice principal's office, so it adjoins to the main office. The vice principal was moved into the old principal's office. I don't know if everyone understood that one, it was kind of complicated. The nurse's office at the high school had a new floor installed. It is a no-wax LVT floor that never needs to be stripped or waxed. The board office has new carpeting installed and freshly painted. The old carpet was over 40 years old. We moved for special programs office at the high school over to the BOE office. Art Mazzaka will be moving in his office in the area, and his old office will be a conference room. Gym floors at the school, wooden floors have been all recoated before the school starts. New mulch will be installed around the playground at Roosevelt, Jefferson, and Washington schools. Fire systems and fire extinguishers have been inspected at all schools. Regular summer maintenance and cleaning has been done at all schools. We also have a new 54-passenger bus scheduled to arrive the last week of August. New STEM furniture has been delivered to the high school, and the room will be painted before the school starts. New culinary tables are placed at the high school. And the broken sidewalk and driveway aprons have been replaced at Roosevelt School. This concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Just one quick comment I want to add to that. Our maintenance staff and our custodial staff complete many of those projects that we just talked about. They're done in-house by our maintenance and custodial staff. Those personnel, they truly are the backbone of our district. They are unsung heroes. They never, nearly ever get enough thanks and gratitude for the job that they do. So I just want to extend that gratitude and thanks because they do a great job besides the normal day-to-day cleaning and run-of-the-mill stuff. So I just want to make sure that that's acknowledged. Finance and Administration and Legislative, Tanya, please.
Thanks, Mike. For Finance and Administration, the committee met on Monday, August 12th. Two things were discussed. The extraordinary and transportation aid state reimbursements came back better than we expected, which is good news. The extra money will be used for funding aid in lieu reimbursement and out-of-district student tuition. And the auditor is anticipated to start in September. For the legislative update, over the past 2 weeks, Governor Murphy approved a few important education-related bills that were passed by the legislature this June. One being the Mental Health Education Act, S2861. This will require school districts to ensure that health education programs for students in grades K through 12 recognize the multiple dimensions of health by including mental health and the relationship between physical and mental health to enhance student understanding, attitudes, and behaviors that promote health, well-being, and human dignity. The instruction in mental health must be adapted to the age and understanding of the students. The instruction will also include information on substance abuse. The law took effect immediately upon the governor's signature and will apply to the 2020 and 2021 school year. Another one that was approved was the Deaf Students Bill of Rights, S2044. This establishes the Deaf Student Bill of Rights, recognizing that students who are deaf, hard of hearing, or deafblind have the same rights and potential as other students. There are a whole bunch of things that are pertinent to that. I'll just read a few of them. Some of the things that they're requiring school districts to provide are screening and assessment of hearing and vision capabilities and communication and language needs at the earliest possible age, early intervention to support the acquisition of solid language bases, direct instruction, full communication access to all programs in their educational settings. The Deaf Students Bill of Rights goes into effect September 4th, 2019. The last thing that I want to mention is that the later school time start pilot will be starting. This establishes a 4-year pilot program in the New Jersey Department of Education on later school start times for high school students in selected school districts. It would study the issues, benefits, and options for instituting a later start time to the school day. The commissioner will select 5 school districts from urban, suburban, and rural areas of the state to participate in the pilot program. That's all I have for legislature.
Thank you, Tony. Marco, anything to report on a council?
I'll report it this time.
Lou, anything on Passaic County School Boards?
Next meeting will be sometime next month, which I'm sure we'll all get an email about, but it's gonna
It's gonna be local, do you happen to know, or you know if it's gonna be local, or?
Yeah, probably in Brownstone, you know?
No, the only thing I can share with you, only because I was asked,
Yeah.
part of it is that they had the
Real
appointments of re-election, and I was on the committee, and Judy's the same president,
Right.
and the guy from
Charlie.
yeah, Charlie,
Carabello.
yeah, he's the
Bloomingdale.
yeah. So they're all unopposed.
Good people.
So no change in there?
There's no change in leadership, no.
All right, before we get to public heard, I believe Mr. Spino has something he'd like to say.
So before we open the meeting to the public, just a couple of things I'd like to share regarding tonight's public session. Over the past week, I've received a few emails and calls regarding concerns about the PCTI busing, and I'd like to address the group again before we get to public session. First thing I want to start with is that everyone up here on this day, is board members, myself, is saying, well, we all care about kids. That's why we're here. These board members volunteer their time to contribute to the benefit and the education of all the children in Hawthorne, regardless of where they attend. And we have students at parochial schools, PCTI, we have students at out-of-district special ed placements. We care about all. And our collective goal is to provide the best possible educational experience for these kids, regardless of where they attend. With that said, we have made it clear, the board and myself, that over the past couple of years that we have concerns about PCTI. But those concerns are about funding. Those concerns have nothing to do with students or staff at PCTI. Those conversations never included students or staff. They've always included how the school is funded. That is our issue. In fact, back in January, and you're welcome to view it, it's actually on our website, on January 22nd, 2019, I made a public statement at the board meeting. And again, it's available on our website. You go to the Board of Education, there's all of our meetings are there with our video. There's videos of all of our meetings. And you can watch the statement in its entirety. I'm not going to read the whole statement to you because it's long, but I want to read an excerpt from that statement that I read at that meeting. And it says, I started my statement by talking about students who attend out-of-district schools. And I went into this quote, and I'm going to read a couple paragraphs and then I'll move on. Personally, I don't see this as a PCTI problem. As the leader of a school district, I do not begrudge PCTI or the administration at PCTI for their efforts in trying to improve their school district. At the end of the day, PCTI does play an important role for many students in Passaic County. However, I do not think that the success of PCTI should come at the expense of the local public school districts in the county. I personally see this as more of a county freeholder issue, as they determine the percentage of tuition paid by the local county public school districts. Currently, Passaic County pays the second highest percentage of tuition. In other counties, local school districts pay a smaller percentage of tuition, and in some cases, county vocational schools are fully funded by their county budget and require no tuition from local school districts. So my plea is to the county freeholders to reconsider the amount of tuition they're requiring the local public school districts to pay. End quote. But again, you can listen to the whole statement if you prefer on our website. That's the position that we've taken, and I'll speak for myself. I don't want to speak for anybody else up here. I'll speak for myself, that I've taken from the beginning. But again, none of this has to do with your children or any of our children in Hawthorne, because they have no control over what I just talked about. So let me share how this bus evaluation began. A couple of years ago, many of you remember Jerry Kavanaugh, and I'm sure many of you had conversations with her. She was in charge of busing for many years, over 25 years in the district. She retired a couple of years ago, and at that point, we thought it was a good idea, as we were bringing a new person, to reevaluate our current busing situation. We didn't start with our out-of-districts. We actually started with our in-district busing. We did a complete evaluation of all of our in-district busing. And since that time, we have condensed bus routes. We have reduced our bus driver numbers by 2. We've actually eliminated 2 bus drivers, and we've outsourced 2 of our own internal bus routes. And the reason we did that was because there was a cost savings to the district, and we're still able to provide the required busing for our students in town. We then moved on to look at some of our other bus routes, which is where we are now, including PCTI. One of the things we were addressing were the concerns that parents from PCTI shared last year, that the bus pickup times were too early. And we were concerned that students, adding more students this year, those bus pickup times would be even earlier. We also spoke to other districts around us, other Passaic County districts, and found out that our neighboring districts, many have 1 stop, including Pompton Lakes, Lakeland, Manchester, which I'll come back to in a second, Passaic Valley, Clifton, and Bloomingdale. There are also towns with limited stops. Patterson, for example, has 3 stops for all of Patterson. West Milford and Wayne also have a number of stops. Again, just due to their sheer size, they can't have 1 stop. It can't be more than 2.5 miles from where you live. So they have limited stops. Hawthorne last year had 16 stops, 9 for one bus and 7 for the other. Manchester, just to go back to Manchester for a second, they have 2 stops, one for Prospect Park and Haledon and one for North Haledon. So they have 2 stops for their 3 districts. And I will also share that PCTI pays for those routes. So even when PCTI is paying for the routes, it's limited in their number of stops. In Hawthorne last year, we spent $86,745 to bus approximately 84 students on 2 buses that totaled 16 stops between the 2. So in Hawthorne, we began discussing possible locations with the town, with the chief of police and the mayor to determine what location would work best for a large number of students. We talked about many different locations. We talked about parking. We talked about traffic concerns, where students can wait, and we decided that the best location would be at the town pool. I'm sharing this information just to make everybody aware of the process. It wasn't something that we just haphazardly decided to do. This is the process that's been going on for a couple of years. It's a decision that we made in conjunction with our local officials. It is our decision. I'm not putting it on them. I want to be clear. It's a district decision. But again, I want to make everybody aware about the process and how the decision was made. I'm also sharing this because our school district, as a school district, our main goal is to provide the best possible education for our students, and these decisions go way beyond busing. We have to look at security, technology, facilities, athletics, curriculum instruction, and much more. So it's not just about buses. That's one small piece of the many areas that we have to consider when we're looking at providing the best possible experience for students. We also have to be fiscally responsible, right, with all of our areas. And we evaluate all areas, and this is one that we've been, like I said, in the process of doing for a few years, and we're going to continue to do that. One of the things we did this year is we changed our website, right? Not because our website didn't work, but because we were actually able to save some money and still provide the information that we needed to provide. And we have a brand new website this year for that reason, and that reason only. All right, so we are awaiting the bids from Northern Region and Services. They bid the routes for PCTI. We don't do that as a district. That's done through Northern Region. The routes have been bid at this point. We haven't received them, so I don't know what the costs are. I can't share that with you. But I just want you to know they have been bid, and obviously, once we have that information, we'll be able to share more with you as parents. But I just, again, I know we're gonna have an opportunity for the public to speak, but I wanted to give you some background information before we do that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sprito. Before we get started, I see some people standing in the back. There are 3 seats available up front if you'd like to come and sit before we get started. Don't be shy, we won't bite anybody. 3 nice, comfortable chairs there. No takers, huh? All right, that being said, public be heard. Come on up. I didn't see, I was looking straight ahead. Tall hand up there.
Right in front.
I'll let them go.
Please, as a reminder, when you come up to the microphone, please sign in, state your name, and let us know your address before you go to the slide, please. Thank you. And we are going to try and stick to our 5-minute timer.
I'll be quick, I'm Spanish.
No problem.
My name is Josephine Melendez. I reside at 184 Forest Avenue in Harvard. First, you mentioned Clifton. My sons went to Clifton. We live in Clifton and they went to PCTI. I know that there's more than 2 stops in Clifton. That's incorrect. Second, most and foremost, how can you guarantee our children's safety? You're having us go to the pool early in the morning with how many students? On 1 bus.
It's 2 buses.
Safety, you mentioned the word safety.
Mhm.
How our children are going to be, how are they going to be safe? Is there going to be a school card there? Is there going to be a cop there? How? How many students are going to have that bus? We all know kids. You put 4 together, there's a problem. You put 64 kids, 94 kids, you're guaranteed they're going to be problems. I, for one, am not willing to have my child come to any harm. Let alone walking from the pool to our home, even though it's 1.8 miles, not the 2.5 miles. I have my child walk from there today to our home, 45 minutes. If it's cold, if it's snow, if it's 95, if it's hazy, if it's hot, if it's humid, I work. I can't pick up my child. Am I supposed to not go to work so I can make sure my child comes home safe? How are kids, how is this good by kids? To our parents? Because we're choosing to take our child to PCTI. I don't understand. Anybody? Safety? What is gonna happen? We're just supposed to drop our children off and just go to work and go home and who's gonna be responsible for our children?
Well, if I could just comment, it is the parent's responsibility, regardless of the bus stop. I don't care if it's at the pool or any location in town. We don't supervise kids before they get on the bus. It's a parent's responsibility to supervise their child before they get on the bus. So, and that doesn't, regardless of the stop, if you live and your stop is 2 blocks away from your house, that it's not something that the district would supervise at those 16 stops. We don't have guards at each one of those stops.
Which we won't be part of last year, some of us were in. But if you go to the high school, isn't there a security provided when you drop your children off? You don't go.
Well, we don't have security at the bus stops for our children, for our
No, there's no
students.
security at the bus stop, but you're making us take our children to a pool that's not gonna be open, correct? It's not like a corner that you have someone that's, you can tell your neighbor or whatever. I stood and I watched my child on the bus last year. Okay, that's fine, I stood, that's my obligation as a parent.
Correct.
But now you make us go to a different location, which is further away than I live, because the library is right here. But I have to bypass the library to take my child to a pool that has an empty lot, right? It's an empty lot, where she can take a bus. There's no safety there. No one seems to understand that our children's safety is not being, she's gonna walk through a bus.
But why would it be unsafe there versus on the street corner by your house?
First of all, I know where my neighbors. So they know my child is walking home. So if something goes wrong, someone's gonna tell me. But 45-minute walk from the pool to my home is not safe. Because she didn't have to walk 45 minutes before. She had to walk 5 minutes from the stop of her, that was water to her. So now we're talking the pool, walking home at whatever time they get home from. Let's even say she has an after school activity, the bus is gonna drop them off at the pool, not that they will drop them off from the house after school. Because that was also provided to our children after school activities, the bus would take them to their stop. So now it is my daughter's in cheerleading.
That bus is not our responsibility. That's PCTI takes care of that. If they're involved in after-school athletics or sports, that's not the district. That bus is only we only bus the kids who leave at the end of the day. And then, I'm just letting you know, the PCTI pays for that or takes care of that busing for the kids who are in extracurriculars. That's not done by the district. I just to clarify. That's all.
But it's still about 45 minutes walk by themselves. They're not gonna be safe. It's still use up, even if you're saying where half of us will be there in the morning, or half of us befriend some of the parents and say, oh, I'll go, because we're all very friendly with each other, and we'll say, I'll watch your child, I'll take your child to the bus stop. Once my child comes from school, again, I repeat, it's a 45-minute walk. I timed her today on purpose for this meeting. 45 minutes for a child to walk home 1.8 miles. There's no way we should be going to safe distance. Because she's cut off the criteria about 2.2 miles, whatever it is. It's not safe. It's not safe. It's not safe for an adult. You see it on the news all the time. Uber killings, it's not safe. 45 minutes, a long walk for a child. I don't care if my child is 15, 16, 17. Stuff happens. It's not safe.
Hang on, Ms. Nolan. Does anyone on the board have any questions before she sits down?
I do. This is gonna be so hard not to comment on every single one because we're all parents at her, we all understand, but I have children, same as you, and I have teenagers, same as you. My children walk the streets of Bridgewood, walk the streets of Glen Rock, they walk home from the high school. If I lived 1.8 miles away from the high school, they would walk and it would take them 45 minutes. I just wanna clarify that it has nothing to do with the fact that your student is going to a bus, it's 45 minutes, it's 1.8 miles for any student that walks that.
Do you take your child to
In addition, I do not. In addition, that parking lot is much safer for us to drop the children off in a parking lot where it is contained than it is to leave them on the side of a road somewhere. Any child can be hit, any child can be picked up, any child can be molested, any child can be hurt, but it is the same across the board. And putting them in a safe space where buses can park and parents can park. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to leave them on a street corner or on a main road.
My child was safe when she was picked up at Hawthorne and Minerva.
We understand that it's
dropped
in-
off, and she was dropped off at Minerva and Hawthorne Avenue. I parked my car safely at Hawthorne and Minerva Avenue on the corner. My child walked home safely at Hawthorne and Minerva.
That doesn't mean that tomorrow she's
She
not
didn't
safe on that
have to-
corner.
You cannot guarantee that my child, something will happen to my child 45 minutes walking, but I'm sorry, that's your opinion with your child. This is my child.
Nobody can guarantee anything, and we understand
As I
that it's
said,
an
it's my
inconvenience.
child, it's my child, 45 minutes from the pool over there, no one can guarantee, and you're right, no one can, but as far as I'm concerned, Minerva and Hawthorne Avenue, 5 minutes versus 45 minutes.
Hang on, man. I want to avoid any back and forth. Let's try and limit this to just questions at this point. I have one quick question. You made a comment about criteria that your child, we're talking about one child or more than one child?
I have one child.
Just one statement.
Go ahead, do one,
If you wouldn't mind telling what grade?
sophomore.
Sophomore, okay. You mentioned something about criteria about that they were 0.2 miles shy of something.
Right, you have to be, from what I understand, it's 2 miles or 2.5 miles from, right, otherwise you get picked up from the library or whatever.
Correct, that's correct.
So from my address to the pool, it's 1.8 miles.
Okay.
So she's cut, for 0.2 miles, she's cut off from whatever that distance is to be picked up at the pool.
Actually, high school students, it's 2.5 miles.
Okay, well, then
2
she's-
miles is grammar school children.
But forgive me, I'm still not understanding. You're saying it's closer for her to go to the library? Is that what
Well,
you're trying to
there's
say?
6 children who are supposed students who are going to be picked up at the library. I'm gonna totally bypass the library if my child's in the pool.
Okay.
My daughter's gonna get off from the pool, walk past the library to come to her home because she doesn't meet that criteria.
Thank you for explaining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, guys. And ladies, sorry. My name is Kenneth Michelle. I live at Lafayette Ave. My grass looks really good, by the way. So you did a good job on there. So my questions are more, I guess, logistical in, sorry, can't spell it. And talk at the same time. I question some things along the lines of, currently, I would assume there are some crossing guards scattered throughout on the route to the high school, or are crossing guards not provided?
Crossing guards are provided by the police department, and they have them, I'm trying to think where by the high school, I don't know if there's any by the high school. They put crossing guards by all the elementary schools,
Yes.
those are Jefferson and Washington. There might be, I
think
know,
there's a
I
couple at the
don't know.
middle school.
Yeah,
4 years out of the middle
yeah,
school.
there may be one by the middle school,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's all done by the police department, they place those.
You know, my question in that becomes, you know, you're talking about crossing Lafayette Ave at Wagaraw. You know, that's a pretty busy and industrial area. I know Kohler Beer starts their servicing early in the mornings. Another segment of my company just started leasing down that direction. So there's trucks and vehicles constantly going on a pretty heavy thoroughfare over there. So that's my concern of safety in that location. My next question then becomes, you know, my daughter hopefully will have her license soon. She quite possibly can drive herself down to the pool. I got no problem with that. I did see signs at the pool that say no parking from dusk till dawn or whatever the time actually is.
When you're finished, we can address that.
Yep, and that's where I'm going. Now, I know she addressed the late bus and whatnot. I have no problem with the late buses. My problem is she going to be protected from getting a parking ticket as a PCTI student in that parking lot?
So I know, I didn't have a chance to finalize it, I did touch base with the mayor, I happened to catch him one day, because he's here, talked to him briefly about it, I'm gonna readdress it with him, but that's something that we're working on with the mayor. I mean, obviously, I would make sure that those students aren't gonna get ticketed.
But as of right now, there's no official, hey, they're not gonna get a ticket for parking there.
We will ensure that they don't get a ticket.
I know parking on the street there, you gotta have resident parking permits. Again, a very busy area, you've got the condos right around the corner there, a lot of people, a lot of congestion. I'm sure we've all seen some of these Facebook pages, you know, the BNC pages and whatnot, complaining about people running the stop sign. I know that does not fall on the Board of Education, that falls under the police department and enforcement. But there's a lot of it that I see, there's a lot of people talking speeding up and down the roads over there. So again, that becomes a concern for me as a parent. Trying to think, there's a couple other things that I had in mind, but those are really my biggest ones. And as Ms. Melendez had pointed out, again, you know, I live close to Mike. For my daughter to go, if she has to walk, for whatever the reason may be, it's about a mile for her to the library versus 1.7, 1.8 miles. 1.9?
Yes.
To go to the pool. So is there any liability in this, just the 6 students at the library versus the pool? I mean, where's continuity in that? Because if you're gonna have to walk further to bypass one stop.
Yeah, no, listen, I'll address that. The concern there with the town was they were concerned about having a large number of people being dropped off at the library, not so much in the morning. They were concerned about the afternoon when the library's open. There's a lot of people parked along the tracks. There's not a lot of parking there. That was the concern with the library. It was a location that we discussed with the town, but there were just concerns with the afternoon drop-off. That's where it comes from.
Which, and I understand the traffic concerns,
Yeah.
and I'm sure some of these were addressed, you know, or at least considered. How many traffic accidents were in those locations that have been chosen or selected to be there? Again, you know, enforcement of other issues. It's an industrial area where I've read a lot of reports in the Hawthorne Press and the local paper about drugs in the area. That drugs are a problem everywhere, but it seems to be a concentration in that particular area. You know, are there any other options that could be explored that may not have been at this point? You know,
Unless you have ideas, I'm open to hearing them. I can tell you, we talked about a lot of different locations with the town.
the old Boys and Girls Club over there on Copley. I think that's what it's referred to.
Well, it's now the Passaic County Art Center, and we talked about that as well. The challenge with that is I don't know what they're planning to do with that. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen the
The
new
big
sculptures and all the stuff they're
Easter
doing there.
And it's under construction.
We just don't know what that's going to, I know it's gonna be the Passaic County Art Center, and the county, we used to have control of that field.
Mhm.
We no longer have control of that field, it's being taken over by the county. So it's not something that we even control. We used to actually give out the permits for that field.
Okay.
That is, as of December, that is no longer the case, they are taking over the control of that field. So
And
that's a
where I
challenge.
am, you know.
It's not our property, basically, I can't. you
So
know,
for me, like I said, it's just a logistical thing,
I
and
hear you.
I wanna make sure that the, you know, T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, that everything's being considered, because, yeah, safety is everybody's priority with their kids. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. And as a community, I think we all try to do our best to, like we said, watch out for each other's kids. We know our neighbors, when our kids are walking home, whether it be from elementary school, middle school, high school, we're a community. We see kids walking, you know, oh, it's our friends, so-and-so. Hey, you need a ride home? Do you need this? Everybody looks out for each other. So hopefully there's some pliability in locations and how many students can go to either location. You know, and we'd appreciate that if that could be discussed more.
Thank you.
All right, real quick, members, anybody have questions, or we want to keep this moving along? Thank you for your comments, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Valerie Fox of 700 Avenue, over the Rockford Apartments. I am,
You can talk for a minute.
2.2 miles from the pool. And I have 2 boys that are gonna be starting freshmen at PCTI in the fall, and I'm very excited. I was so torn. They're going. And I have no problem with them walking at any bus stop, but I understand that 6 kids are gonna be picked up at the library, and any road you look at it, my kids are gonna walk past the library to get to the pool. So it's 1.2 miles exactly to the library from my house, and it's an additional mile to the pool. So if there could be any consideration with my kids going and getting picked up at the library, no matter what they're walking, we both work full-time. You know, I'm a nurse, he's an EMT, there is no way I'm gonna be sitting down at the pool in the car with my kids in the morning, and I got 4 others under them that I have to get ready and out the door in the morning also. If that's a consideration, I appreciate it. If they do have to go to the pool, my concerns are, like Christmas time, we have the fire department down there, they're taking up half that lot with Christmas trees, is that still gonna be going on? Is
Yeah,
there gonna
that's
be
a great point,
plowing?
it's a great point, we talked to the town about that, it's all the things we discussed. Obviously, I know, in the winter, if we get a lot of snow, they do pile snow in that lot.
Right.
They usually try to do it toward the tennis courts, toward the back of that lot. We did talk to the town about the trees and moving and pushing it back as far as possible
Right.
to allow as much space in the front of that, and they're not selling them, obviously, it's in the morning, and they're not selling them usually at
I'm just
dismissal.
picking
No,
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
again, fair point, and we discussed it, that is something we talked about, with the town, but it's a fair point.
And then also, are my kids, you know, if they do have to go to the pool, they'll ride their bikes down. It's gonna cut the time in half. And is there gonna be any possibility of getting additional bike racks put in down there? Or, you know, ability for storage of that kind of stuff? Because right now they have the one little bike rack in front of the pool up there, but I can imagine a lot of kids, if they're traveling these 2 miles to get down there and their parents can't drive them, they're gonna take some other mode of transportation down there to be able to lock their bikes up safely. And, you know, it's just really having faith in my boys that they're gonna get their butts down there, you know, safely crossing streets, that sort of thing. But, that's really my 2 major concerns. I'm not, you know, I understand the whole stopping the bus routes, but passing one stop to get to another, in my mind, doesn't make sense. You know, and especially my one son's why can't I just get on the other bus? I'm like, it's not my rules, you know, so. That's it.
Thank you.
Questions, anyone?
I just have a question, just because I don't fully understand, how was the determination made that those 6 are from the library and then the other kids?
So,
I just asked.
so going back to that 2.5 mile distance, there are certain people that live up past Jefferson School that are more than 2.5 miles from the pool, so we gotta find another location for them to get picked up, and that's why.
Is the law about the bus stop or about the school itself, the 2.5 miles?
So, it's about the bus stop, because we're more than 2.5 miles from the school, so going back to Manchester, they stopped paying for the bus because
Yep.
they're less than 2.5 miles from the PCTI. That's why PCTI is now paying for the buses, that's why, so for us, because we're more than 2.5 from the school, for sure, we can't be more than 2.5, or the parents can't be more than 2.5 from the bus stop, the house, from the bus stop. So that's the whole 2.5.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Hello.
Naomi Collier, 61 Cider Mill Road. Appreciate your comments in advance because you've knocked off some of my questions.
Okay, no problem.
But I'll try to be as quick as possible. And I'd like to preface my questions by saying that luckily it doesn't impact us because we have somebody to drop our kid off and pick them up and somebody will be there. But it does seem a little bit off to me, so I'd just like some clarification if that's okay.
Sure.
I'm having trouble understanding, when we put out for the bids, are the bids based on a per child, per distance, or per stop, or a combination of those things?
Well, the per child would determine how many buses we would need. So.
I mean, how is it
So it's,
how is it charged?
Trudy, correct me if I'm wrong, our business administrator, but my understanding is that the number of stops would dictate the cost of the bus. The buses themselves, we determine based on the number of kids that we determine the bus. So you're paying for the bus, you're then paying for the route or the number of stops included in that route.
Do we have any sense of how much, for instance, on average, each stop adds to?
I don't know the answer. Because the challenge with that is it depends on who bids the routes each year. It changes. It depends on the companies that bid the route. It depends on gas prices. Depends on, like there's so many factors. I don't.
So in our bid sheet, it doesn't specify that it's like a per child or per stop or per mile?
It's the way they bid the route and they give a flat number that, just like you see on our agenda for all those individual routes for those special ed students, they give us the number. This is the cost for the route.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really, it's probably some combination of those three things.
Correct.
Okay. And do we know when the contract will be awarded? Like, when are the bids? School starting, and
They're out to bid, they're all out to bid, the region sent them all out to bid.
I would assume that it has to be this week. I mean,
yes, we don't have like a drop dead date on that, when they have to bid by.
My understanding historically, we're able to, usually we get it no more than like 10 days before school starts. Historically, where we've been able to, firm up the bus stop and let people know where those stops are going to be. I don't know if that's going to be the case this time, hopefully sooner.
So when we put it out to bid, we say we want 2 stops and this is the number of kids and what's your best offer?
Well, okay, we don't put it out to bid, Northern Regional.
Yeah, but yes,
So-
yeah, Northern Region and Services, they do it, but yes.
So that's essentially what they do.
By the
So,
way, is PCP, just so everyone is aware.
okay. So they, I mean, it's their process, they put it out to all the different bus companies. And
They
then
just put the bid out and then bus companies bid on those routes.
And they
Or
do that
not.
for all of the towns in Passaic County that attend?
And they make a commission, yes.
Is there a reason we don't do that internally?
Just staffing. It's manpower, basically.
So am I incorrect in my understanding that the bids have to be approved at a public board of ed meeting?
Yes, just like the ones that were on this agenda,
So the next meeting is 9/17,
yes.
so how do we approve the bid before school starts?
Well, the bid, we will get the bid, we will approve it in September, but obviously we're not gonna not run the bus for the kids who start the school year.
So then there's no discussion really once that bid comes in, because we've already started the school year with like, what happens if there is an outcry and something is totally wrong, or the bid is incorrect, or, is there anything that can
The
be,
bid is incorrect.
like, maybe it doesn't comply with the statutory authority, or whatever the case.
Well, that's up to Northern Region to determine that. In other words, when any project gets bid, there are certain bid specs that go with that bid.
Yeah, I know.
And they have to meet those bid specs.
And then the company also has to meet their requirement on their end.
Correct.
So I'm just like, once we start this process, is there any wiggle, maybe we find out that it's horrible to have them all dropped off and picked up at the pool, and it's a real issue. Is there any wiggle room in that?
Can you
Once
rebid it,
it's-
is what you're saying?
Like,
You
once
can?
it's started,
Yes, you can
can we
rebid it once
change
you
that?
start it, yes.
What are the chances though?
Looking for a percentage? What are you looking for?
No, I'm just trying to be reasonable.
No, I understand.
I have concerns.
I understand.
And my kid, for the record, is one of the 6 that will go to the library. But I have concerns about the pool parking lot. And we spend most of our summer in the pool parking lot, but it's not at 7 a.m. And I'll tell you, even when there's no cars coming in and out of Main Street, it's a mess when we go back and forth to the pool. So I can only imagine what it's gonna be like when 80 to 100 cars are trying to get in and out of Main Street at 7 a.m. and presumably 3:30-ish in the afternoon. So, I gotta wonder, were the residents in the area considered and the impact on the residents? Like that, they did a traffic study when Walmart was proposed, and I'm sure at no point did they consider the 80 cars were gonna be pulling in and out of that parking lot, right across the street. So, it's a concern. So if it goes horribly wrong, is there a plan to address it?
Well, listen, it's something we will do. Well, obviously, we look at all of that. As I mentioned earlier, we evaluate this stuff all the time. Even our own internal routes. We outsourced a couple of routes last year, and yeah, we had our supervisor of transportation rode the bus a couple of days just to make sure everything was going. And we're always looking at those things, and it's something we'll continue to look at for sure.
I doubt very much there will be 80 cars.
Well,
We
I
know
mean,
2
you
of the
got
students
96
already
kids.
riding their bikes,
78.
okay? So I'm sure people are going to carpool, so I don't see 80 cars down there.
I mean, even when we had the pickups in different locations,
Mm-hmm.
there's 3 or 4 kids at the bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 or 4 parents sitting at the bus stop waiting for the bus to come, because the buses were always late, so we want to make sure our kids were picked up.
I used to walk that route every morning until I had back surgery along Van Winkle and watch every stop, which were about 6. I didn't see too many cars there waiting for their children.
I mean, we now have 2 different bus stops, and that's not my experience. So, and I'm the one that drops them off in the morning, so and you had mentioned that they had reviewed the in-town bus schedule in the
Yes.
past to cut it down. So,
Our internal routes, yes.
yeah, do you know how many kids transfer in town?
How many kids are on buses?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. It's over 200 students. I know I don't know the exact number.
All right, I was just curious if there was consideration to maybe centralizing those as well for cost savings.
As I mentioned, we cut 2 bus drivers and outsourced to a roadhouse. That's how it is.
Because my other son's bus stop remained the same, so I was curious, we haven't gotten a letter on that either. So I thought maybe if we were looking at cost savings across the board, we would consider Midtown and also town. And just for clarification, I know you mentioned a couple of towns that have, and you indicated were down to 1 stop.
Yes.
So I did a little recon of my own, and I'm not gonna bother you with all of them, but I can tell you that Manchester is made up of North Haledon, and Prospect Park.
Correct.
I'm sure you probably know.
Correct,
You are correct in that Haledon and Prospect Park have 1 stop.
correct.
But I confirmed today that North Haledon has not changed their stops.
That's not what the business administrator told us. So
So that
that's
came from the mayor and also confirmed by PCTI's business, their transportation person. But what I would like to point out is that Haledon, well, they have 1 stop, they are about a mile square in terms of their size. And so I don't think it's really fair to compare it in terms of logistically us having our kids walk to the school. And Prospect Park is less than a half a mile square. So if we're looking at surrounding towns, I think we have to be fair in comparing them realistically. 3.5 miles versus half a mile, that's a big difference. You can walk from one side of town to the other in probably 10 minutes or less. I think that you covered all of my other questions. Oh, I did want to know, is there a reason why we didn't know in advance? Like, is this a decision that was just made?
No, but typically what we know, we notified parents when the bids came in, so we were doing the same, following that same process. I know parents, obviously something, in hindsight, we probably could have let you know sooner.
Yeah.
But,
Nothing else for people that need to make other.
no, I understand. We were following the procedure that we had followed in the past, that was the reason for it.
Those are all the questions. I appreciate you answering them.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
What's the triple room for?
No, you're up.
My name is Kristen Michelle, and I live out of Lafayette, my husband's still growing.
Please sign.
Yep, I'm sorry.
No problem.
So like everyone else, I don't care if my daughter has to walk 1.9 miles, obviously. Some days I will hopefully be able to drive her. If she gets her license, hopefully she'll be able to drive herself. My problem is when she has to walk that 1.9 miles, she literally, our route, a couple of you know where I live, will literally walk right by the library. It's not fair. I get that they don't want everyone to be dropped off at, say, 3:30 at the library, but no one complains when half the middle school, at least, 4 years ago, when my kid was in middle school, walked to the library and hung out. Those parents then a lot of times picked up their kids at the library, like I did, after school, because that's where they walked. So why is it a problem if the PCTI students are at the library and getting dropped off? So I'm assuming they'll drop off the back. It's not like they're gonna do it in the front. I'm assuming if, smart-wise, you're gonna drop the kids off in the back of the building because there's a lot more room, there's extra space on the street. So what's the difference to PCTI if they all dropped in? Why should my child, as well as many other people's child, have to literally walk by the library to go to the pool? My safety concerns, I'm the one that emailed you. My safety concerns at the pool are not gonna change. The town's still gonna put the snow there, I'm sorry.
They are.
Where else are they gonna put
No,
the
they're still
snow?
gonna put it there.
So you're gonna have these huge mountains of snow which block views. So while my kid's standing there, no one can see them now from the street because at least last year, again, obviously, I'm basing it from driving by it a couple of times. I have to drive by the pool at that time of year. They're blocking, you can't see the pool from there. So we're standing in a parking lot that now we're gonna lose at least half to the parking. And it's gonna be blocked. The industries that are all down there are gonna be coming out of their big trucks. You can't see from the street then. Would you honestly want your kid standing when the snow is covered on the ground with, mountains of snow in that parking lot, standing there? Would you really want your daughter or your son standing there? Especially when they've now walked by the stop where they see 6 of their friends standing there, waiting for the bus while they keep going. I don't know what time the bus is gonna be there, whether it's my daughter was supposed to be at the bus stop 15 minutes early. So is also the new rule with the new stop, the buses say the bus time is 7:15. Is that bus not gonna leave to 7:15? Or like before, my kid has to be there 15 minutes early because when the bus got there 15 minutes early, it picked up my kid and left. There was times I would go to bring my daughter to elementary school, I always drove by my older daughter's bus stop, unless it was raining, she walked, it was close enough to my house. Where I saw kids standing, I'd be like, hey guys, sorry you missed the bus. The bus is already gone, you know, they're like, but we were here at the time we were supposed to be here, the bus would leave. So are we gonna guarantee that if the bus time is 7:15, that bus isn't gonna leave before 7:15? So that the kids aren't standing there an extra 20 minutes. You know, my concern though is that these kids are gonna have to walk by one stop together. It feels like it's because you're the, and I know, you know, I know a lot of you. I know it's not because you're the PCTI student, but as a parent, as a mom, I feel like it's because you're a PCTI student, you can't get picked up and dropped off at the library because LMS kids are there, or the Hawthorne High School kids are there hanging out. And I know that's my irrational thinking, but you're telling me 6 of her friends are gonna get picked up at the bus, and she's gonna have to walk an extra 0.9 miles. Oh no, it's an extra mile to the pool. Because I believe it was 1.9 miles total and we're 1.9. And we're 0.9 miles from the library. It doesn't seem fair. And you said other suggestions. I'm assuming the bus will be there by 7:30, because most of the days my daughter was at school by 7:35. Why not the 3 elementary schools? Everyone's within 2 miles of an elementary school. Or before care does not start till 7:30. That leaves safe spot that the snow is gonna be cleared off the ground. We're not gonna have to worry about anything else because we're getting the schools ready anyway.
Here's the challenge with the elementary schools. The elementary schools already have a traffic issue around the schools. The other problem with the elementary schools is that PCTI and our district have completely different schedules.
Yes.
So what happens when they start late and we're already in school, or vice versa, we're already in school? Or what happens when they have an early dismissal, which happens often up at PCTI, and we don't.
I think it happened twice in the 3 years my kid has been
I can tell you, they have different schedules.
Yes, I
And
would
kids
agree.
are getting dropped off while our kids are there in cars. There's absolutely nowhere to have bus stops.
All right, I didn't think about the drop off. I was thinking pickup. So you were right. I never once thought about coming home. I thought about going there. Because my concern is not so much the 3:30 in the afternoon. My concern is if she has to walk, if she doesn't get her license, and she has to walk, she's gonna leave my house. The one mom said 45 minutes to walk there. Truthfully, I didn't have her try. I didn't honestly think about it. So she's gonna leave my house, say 6:15 the latest, saying the bus is gonna be there at 7. Again, we don't have a time. In the pitch black, because I have to say, come a couple, you know, maybe it's a little bright now, but come, you know, the middle of winter, it's gonna be pitch black. She's gonna leave at 6 o'clock in the morning in the pitch black, drive down Main Street, which if you're on any Facebook page or read the Hawthorne Press is not very safe, speeding and everything else, to the pool. To where when I drove by the other night, there was 2 lights lighting up the entire pool. So there's 2 lights that are gonna light up. And I'm sorry, even if parents are sitting there, you put 100 kids together. You know, I think of my Girl Scout meetings with 20 kids. They're not very calm, even if your parents sitting there. Even if half of the parents sit in the car with the kids, there's gonna be the kids that walk, like my daughter, like the one whose sons are gonna ride their bike. Not everyone's gonna be able to be there with their child because they have other children. So kids are gonna get dropped the same way they would at any other stop. And I understand that we're responsible for them like at any other stop. But 100 kids in one spot, when you could say, okay, half of you can go to the library, half of you can go to the pool. You know, and also my only other question, I heard there's 106 kids going to PCTI this year. I heard there's 45 kids per bus. Technically, don't we need 3?
54 passenger buses.
30, 50, okay, I heard someone said 48 per bus, so.
There are different size buses, but there are 54.
And now, the only other question I have, which someone outside of our community brought to my attention, what happens when Patterson finds out we're just meeting right there? Because I can tell you, I know 2 kids that took Hawthorne buses the year before my daughter's freshman year, that did not live in Hawthorne, but walked to the stop and got on the bus every day.
Did you say anything, Pam?
I questioned it and I brought it up to, I don't know whose attention it was to, my daughter was a freshman, I was new at it. I didn't honestly find out until probably midway through. She was like, oh yeah, my friend would stay over the, you know, this one's house or that one's house and just jump on the bus anymore. You know, she wouldn't tell me who. I wasn't gonna, you know, pressure her. I didn't want to get any kid in trouble because the important thing is our kids get to school. But how are we gonna guarantee people who just on the other side of our town aren't gonna hear where our bus stop is and send their kids over because it's closer than Patterson's 3 stops to them? You know, has anyone thought about it?
can't control that at any bus stop, no matter where, even at the library, we can't control that.
No, I know that, but at the library, the center of our town, less likely it's probably the same distance from their stops.
I hear you.
Any questions, board members? Thank you very much for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
I am Laura Sims, I live at 75 Sherman Avenue. I don't want to repeat everything because I agree with everything that's been said so far. My concern is why the pool was picked, because it's dark and desolate, at least at the library, because my son doesn't get home until 5. So at least at the library, if I can't get to him right away, you could go into the library and it could be warm in the winter.
No, you can't.
There's lights
Library's
there.
closed at 7 o'clock.
At 5 o'clock in the afternoon it's closed?
No, in the morning, I thought you said.
Well, no, in the morning, it's, in the morning, I'm gonna have to drop him off no matter where he goes, but I don't like really having him by the pool. I didn't like having him on 9th Street either, because it was dark over there, and you're standing on people's property. I think at the library, it's a little bit more open, the cops are right down the street, so they can keep an eye on the kids. You could send 2 buses over there at 7 in the morning, I don't understand why the pool was picked. It does seem far, it's far from my husband, he drops him off before he leaves for work at 7. It's just very confusing for me, I adopted these 2 kids that go to PCTI. And the reason why they go there is, I could stand here for hours and explain it to you, but they're very comfortable there. And I don't want my husband to be late to work every single day because he's sitting by the pool waiting for the bus to come, because like these parents said too, the buses were never on time. Never, so you would be sitting there for 16, 20 minutes. All those people down there by May Ave, are they gonna want everybody parked down there? And it is dark. I drove past it, it's dark, I don't understand why that was picked. Why wouldn't you pick the center where everybody's coming from all over? Instead of something that seems like, how many kids down there go to PCTI? I just don't understand why that place was picked initially. And nobody explained it, I still haven't heard any reason.
I addressed that in my comments initially, that was something we discussed.
But why? There's snow there and there's no building there. At least if they're by the library, if they have to get to a phone or get into a building for whatever reason, they have Rite Aid there, they have the library, the whole town is there, Diamond Bridge Ave is there. They can find, whatever, safety or security in any one of those. Down by the pool, there's nothing, what are you gonna do, knock on somebody's door? If there's an issue going on, or if somebody, like the one woman said, there's fighting. Plus, it is dark, and my son doesn't get home until 5, because he's in the after programs there, band or whatever. So he doesn't get home, so now you're talking about him walking from the pool to 75 Sherman Avenue. I have more kids at home, I'm a foster mom, so I have to pack everybody up in the car to go and get, it's just gonna be so much more out of the way, I just don't understand, and I hope you reconsider your location.
Is the pool a better location for you as well?
No, the library's a better location.
I'm sorry, the library, that's what.
Yes, I feel safer, honestly, I feel safer at the library than at the pool.
Don't forget about safety, but distance-wise, it's better for you at the library.
Yep, the library's better for me, yeah. But I'm more concerned with the safety and the darkness, to be honest with you. I like the fact that the cops are right down the street from the library if there is an issue, because let's face it, it's not a safe world. It's not the same world it was when we were growing up. Unfortunately, you can't. If your girl can't walk the streets at 6:45 in the morning to get to the bus at 7. It's dark. I don't want I don't want my son walking in the dark to the pool, especially with the way things are today. So I would feel safer with that being reconsidered.
Members, do you have any questions? Thank you very much, ma'am, for your comments.
So
Thank you
just
for
sign my
signing in.
name.
Thank you.
And do it, no problem. Thanks.
I have a question, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
just because I'm not.
Is it directed towards her or just the general?
No, general question. The concern was that the child comes home at 5 o'clock, but at 5 o'clock, that's the PCTI bus, correct? Is the PCTI bus dropping at the
You know
pool?
what,
I don't know the answer.
we don't, that's not something that we control, I don't know how that works. Maybe.
Can I,
Yeah,
uh,
most likely,
They drop them off,
they drop them off close to your home.
They drop them, I don't know if that's gonna change.
No,
That's PCTI.
Right, they drop them off.
I know, I just want to clarify.
Not right down the home, you're right, but.
Oh, okay, well, that's better.
That's Cornell,
good to know.
you know what I mean, it's not.
So if they are stuck late when they come home in the dark, they will be closer to home, they're not walking from the pool parking lot. Because at 3 o'clock, it's not dark yet.
At least that's how it's been,
Okay.
you know.
I know he's dependent on the bus driver though, too.
All right, we
Some
need
would
to
bring
maintain,
to
I
my
can't have an
house,
open
some wouldn't.
conversation here, we need to
Right.
maintain some decorum, please. Sir, you had your hand up, you're gonna be next, thank you.
Mike Rios, 2 Lincoln. Here's 2 things. Could be a consideration, all the kids being picked up in the morning by the library and then dropped off by the pool at 5. You know, because a lot of concern is with parents working, getting on time, not getting in trouble at work, stuff like that. Or if not, there could be a possible shuttle, if they save enough money that they could put a shuttle, that could take the kids over there or something. Because it's kind of, want to keep it clean, but it's guys backwards. It passes a stop to go to another stop. That's, it don't make no sense at all, because the kids are gonna get picked up no matter what. So, those are my 2 points.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody have a question? Anyone else, public be heard? Any subject?
Any more bus people? Every second now.
Sure, strength in numbers.
You both have to sign in.
My name is Chris Smith. My name is Chris Smith, 79 Wagner Place.
Which is not at 50 KCF.
Doesn't mean you get 10 minutes, just let me know. It's not a 2 thing.
So I just wanted, I mostly remember I came here a couple meetings ago, speaking about having access to weight room for the Hawthorne school. So life and work gets in the way. I meant to get back here sooner, but I'm here now. So Mr. Doyle requested that I find out some numbers, and I did find numbers. What I did was I conducted a survey, and in my survey, I received 81 total. Well, just to recap, I gotta ask about the waivers. I received 81 total responses. 70 people said that they would be interested. The question was, if the Hawthorne High School weight room were open for all students, would you use the room, utilize the room? 81 total responded, 70 said yes, and 11 said no. My second question was, would you use the room immediately following school? And 80 total responded, 61 said yes, they would use it after school, 12 said no, and 7 were other. And they just added some comments. And then my third question was, would you use it, or would you prefer to use it in the evening? 80 total responded, 46 said yes in the evening, 30 said no, and 4 said no. So, I know Mr. Sprito,
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
And I won't penalize your time for it. You said 60 wanted to use it after school, or did you mean in the morning?
No, would you use it immediately after school? Was
Immediately
the
after
second
school,
question.
after school gets out. And
Yes.
you're saying what number?
80 total responded.
Right.
61 said yes, and 12 said no, and 7 said other.
That was for directly after school.
Direct after school. And then I asked, would you prefer to use it in the evening? 80 total responded, 46 said yes in the evening meeting, 5 o'clock or later, and 30 said no, and 4 were others. I know that, again, Mr. Sprito sent an email to me, and I just, there wasn't complete information. I know he asked me for
a survey, for numbers. Well, I have the numbers, and with the 70 students that said they would use the weight room is probably larger than any club that's in the school. Whether it be drawing club or whatever other club. So there is an interest of students to use the weight room at the school. And just further talking to some of the kids that I've coached, and I really didn't reach out to a lot of the rising 8th graders. So, but I spoke to many of the freshmen and sophomores that I coached, and they said they would actually use it because they have no way to get anywhere else. They don't have licenses. They can't. Some can't afford it. And this is a place that they could go and live and prepare themselves to represent Hawthorne in the athletic arena. So I just ask if you could reconsider based on these numbers that maybe even if it's a pilot program for a quarter or a semester and see it's a minimal cost. I mean, I'm sure there are faculty who go in there and live. Or who would be present. I know there's faculty who go there and live and do their own lifting and their own weight training. And I'm sure that they can, they can hang out while a couple of students come and lift. But like I said, I just ask that you consider, and that's it.
Basically, we talk about athletics, obviously. We have, our boys are all athletes, on few weekends. I was one of the guys actually that helped redo that weight room. Mr. Corrito is very aware of that. Me and a couple guys done a few projects actually with the high school already.
Which we're very thankful.
And it's no need to, I love the town, and we do it because we want to, not just, we do it for everybody. It's not we can go in and do it because of this sport or this sport. We're trying to do it basically for all students. That's the reality. But anyway, we have heard a lot from parents coming up to me. A lot of parents, we coach a lot of the sports here in town. We have a lot of parents coming up and saying, how come we can't use this? How come this is not used? I think it's because they heard too from me and a few other guys that did the work over there. They think just because we did the work, we have something to do with it in that sense. So we'll be getting a lot of, parents coming up and saying, hey, how come the kids can't get into the weight room? How come, the weight room is never open for them to come in and be able to use it? Again, I think with, the issues we have right now with the youth and especially with, obesity and in this country and especially, anywhere just about, I think it'd be a good, healthy thing for kids to come in and want to work out. If they, if they actually have a place to do it, and we have the facilities, and pretty nice facilities, I would say, so, that they, they'll be able to use it. I think that's really what it becomes. And I understand if it's gonna be 3 or 5 kids, I think it's ridiculous, there's no sense in that. I do understand that there has to be a certain amount of kids that have to be, dedicated to go in there. I do understand that each sport has a time slot, that they will use it also. We've done quite a bit of research on it, we've talked to multiple high schools, in towns and in different towns, and they have all told us that they do have this free time for these kids to come in. Obviously, each during each season, we have different teams going in there and using it. We get that, we understand that. But like everybody knows, as an athlete, the day you start preparing for the following season is the last day of that actual season. It's not during it, and that's all we're trying to do is give the kids I consider my boys are in pretty good shape. I try to keep them in good shape. It takes a lot of work. I go to, I gotta get them to the gym and constantly and so on. The reality is that it is a lot of work sometimes for like parents that will work and we'll have, jobs. I understand how, concerned these parents are to try to maybe get a program. Again, if we tried it maybe one season, just see how it goes. That's all we're asking at this point. And financially, it's not a big number. I know this, you guys have a lot of late, I get it. But I don't think it's a huge number to ask for. Just try to, like Mr. Smith said, as far as a pilot program, and let's see how it goes. I mean, if it doesn't work out, well, at least we gave that opportunity. If it does, well, then it's something great that, we can look back and say,
That was a great thing for our kids. But that's it, we don't wanna take money others from any other academic or any other programs, we get that. I want my kid's first student athlete, not athlete student. That's the way it is in my house. I want my kids to have a very, academically, I want them to be, stronger than physically, that's for sure. But at the same time, I think both of them can go together, And that's all we're trying to find out, if there's any possibility that that's something that could happen here. And, we've reached out and we're trying to, figure out ways to us come up with the money ourselves, even in situations like that. So maybe, we've had actually some people that have said that they will even volunteer to even go and actually stay in the weight room a certain amount of hours. We're not looking for the weight room.
The challenge with that is anytime you have people supervising kids, they have to be fingerprinted, approved by the board. And
Background
can't just
check.
put anybody in
You
there.
have to be
I get
certified.
that. Certified, of course, in the weight room situation especially, we don't want somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Because of safety.
This kid can get hurt. So
I agree.
but I appreciate what you're saying, I'm just.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Mr. Bruno, like you said that they, I remember my son went at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well,
It
if
was-
I, yeah, I'm
It
sorry.
was just a small group, there was a small group that went,
Right.
6 o'clock in the morning, I mean, it's tough for adults to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, so.
That was what I was gonna ask, we piloted this before.
Yeah,
Our
that's
son
a
was
tough
involved, and there were very few kids that participated, which is why we stopped it.
It was a 6 o'clock, it was 6 o'clock in the morning.
It's a timing
I
situation.
mean, I think that my feelings, I think the kids would go after school. I think you'd have a bigger group.
The challenge with after school, and you guys know this, and one of the things I was gonna ask you is, out of those 61 kids who said yes, how many of those kids play sports, do you know?
I did not ask.
Because the challenge with
Wait,
going after
that-
school, if you're playing a sport, that's not an option.
Well, I mean, it's just, you're talking about not in-season kids, you're talking about off-season kids. And what if there are kids who don't play sports? What if the
Right,
kid
but I
plays
guess my
football?
question is,
He's
out of
over
those kids who said yes, how many of those 61, I'd be interested to know how many of those 61 are committed to a sport.
To a sport.
Because the problem's gonna be, if they're committed to a sport, you guys know this, and you coach.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be able to do it after school, it's not gonna be an option for them.
I use my son as an example. He doesn't play in the fall.
I understand.
But he would use in the fall. In the winter and spring he plays, but there's kids who don't play winter sports, they play fall and spring sports. So I mean, it would be, there would be people using the room, and
Wouldn't there be a conflict also if one of the teams was using the weight room that time too?
We talked about that last
And then the other thing is, would it be considered a club? Because if it is, we don't have.
We can't make it a club.
We can't make it a club.
Contract prohibits that,
Right.
because there's unfortunately in our teacher's contract, there's, the way it's set up, there's a limited number of clubs that are available in that contract. We can't exceed, even if we wanted to, which.
We tried. Yes.
We want to exceed it, but unfortunately, it doesn't allow for that in the contract. There's 18 clubs divided between the high school and the middle school, and we can't exceed that number, unfortunately. I would love to, but we just can't.
I mean, again, but if the football team was lifting and a couple of wrestlers and basketball players and baseball players want to go in there and join the lift, I mean, all these kids, in a school like this, there's kids who play multiple sports, who are coached by the same guys in different sports, and I mean,
The challenge with that, I know we shared this last time with you. The coaches feel that they have a group of kids that they're responsible for as their team, whether it's football, whatever sport it is. I don't want to specify, right? Whether it's soccer, football, basketball, I don't care what sport. Their concern is they're in there lifting and there's outside kids that come in who are not on that team. Number one, they're really, not that they're not their responsibility, but in essence, they're not on that team, right? The coach is assigned to those kids. Now, as a coach, let's say I go in and lift for 45 minutes and I'm done. I take my kids and go, all right, guys, we're going down the field, we're going into the gym, and the other kids who are in there say, well, I want to stay.
well, the room's closed. It would be clearly.
That's one of the challenges that we face too.
Then they have to make sure they get in and get their lift in with the other team. I mean, I mentioned this, they talk about the change of culture. I mean, this is changing culture here. I mean, that was pitched to us for Victory Road. I believe in that 1,000%. I mean, and I think that they did great. My son loved it, and you go back next year. But to say to change the culture, I mean, I kind of think this It's gotta be part of this where it starts. I mean, you know, really, this is where it starts. I mean, you know, it's got, I mean, I guess it kind of both ways.
I just have a concern or a question or whatever. If we were to make it a pilot program, we were to do whatever we could do if it were possible, wouldn't those kids have to lift? I know kids who join sports have to fill out a whole physical and have like a heart check and there are requirements for ensuring that they are healthy and able to exercise, right?
Well, I mean, that's for the sports, yes, there is a physical requirement.
Would that requirement take?
You know what?
It's a good point.
It's a great question, I have to, it's a very good question.
You don't do it when
you
join a public gym, but it's a great.
But you have to-
public
gym, it's not a public institution.
But you don't do it when you take gym class either. Right. I mean, you take a gym class, you do the same thing. So, I mean, it's, you know, you're doing push-ups and sit-ups.
Students get physicals at certain grade levels in school, I mean, that's required,
Yes.
but
So, yeah.
you
So, I
know,
mean-
but sports, yeah, it's a good question, I don't know the answer to it, we have to inquire, we have to look into it.
I apologize because I wasn't here for that meeting. But what is the challenge on the table right now from our end that
So we tried this, I guess it was last year, we tried it.
I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, we piloted it, we had Angela Berneri, one of our teachers, supervised the weight room, and the turnout was very small, it was very
it
limited.
was just a limited amount of
Limited
students
number of kids who
participated, thereby not.
It was a,
And we did- and we
0,
stopped.
6 a.m. start.
Yeah,
That's
we
what it
stopped.
was. The kids would have to get up at, 5 o'clock in the morning. And try to- and on top of that, there's no place to shower afterwards. That's the other, you're gonna go right straight from lifting and spread into right to school.
So the other request is, that's just, again, just to understand myself, is the request that's being put in front of the board to do it again, a pilot program in the morning, or are we saying to alter to the
We're saying
with the understanding that there would be potentially these off-season students wanting to use it?
Or any student.
Or any
Any
student,
student,
yeah, but most likely it's someone who's not in that sport, that activity, that's it.
Right, for that season, right.
I mean, I was at Riverdale Wrestling, and they have a summer program, summer lifting program, it's scheduled up. I take a picture of it every year, and, you know, it's, they for 10 or 8 weeks in the summer, they open their gym up for males and females, they have different time slots each day. That's the school you're feeding us. Pagoda, we talked about Pagoda.
During the school year too, or just in the summer?
That's their summer program. But Pagoda, their rate was open Monday to Thursday, 3 to 4:30 every day. And it goes out to bid. So, the problem is, well, for example, what will happen is that there'll be 4 seasons at Pagoda. Winter, spring, summer, and fall, and each season will go out to bid, not bid, they can take, a teacher can take a stipend, right? Sorry, not a bid.
They post the job.
Yeah,
they post the job.
So, and, the first year, they were paid $900, second year's at $1,100. And, yeah, so you couldn't do 4 seasons in a row, so at max cost, it would be $48 a year.
For the year.
For someone else.
That's how they worked it out. They've been doing it like that for years.
Their weight room is, and Riverdale's weight room is the same size as ours.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind as far as cost, I mean, it only seemed like $4,800, but, we've had, throughout the years, other parents that have kids that do sports that we don't provide here in town, as a district, that also a coach would cost just $4,500. So, you know what I mean, while it seems like it's only 40 something, it's, it's a cost, it's an opportunity.
I'm not saying it's harsh, I'm not belittling, every penny counts, I get it, but I mean, to me, it would be an investment in our kids.
And it's not unheard of that, like these public spaces we utilize for other stuff. I understand that in Ridgewood, I believe they have the STEM lab open after school, and there's a fee that they charge. I mean, so, it's not just from the sports center.
Yeah, I think if 70 kids want to go in STEM lab, and Mrs. Pasquale would be ecstatic. I don't mean to be flippant, but I think she would be ecstatic. So I submit, I don't think that 70 kids would want to go to STEM lab.
Mr. Smith,
I just wanna share my concern with this, all right? And I love the idea when you say you wanna change the culture, because I think that's
That's not
that.
my idea.
But
That's
no,
what
but,
kids hold
but you're
on.
saying it and a little bit light bulb, because that's really a nice thing to approach to look at it. But on the other side, I do have some concerns, and, first is that, it's not something that we haven't tried before, and we haven't tried it recently. We did, we tried it recently, and yes, the timing was a little bit different, and I got that. So, if this was ever considered in the afternoon, I would feel very uncomfortable with a non-athlete being in the weight room when the team is using it. I think it causes a dynamic, and I played sports, all through high school myself. When you're a team, you do things as a team, and I think that has to stay that way. So, I don't know what each athletic event and, what their workout schedule is, and are they doing it daily, are they doing it, I'm not really sure, I can't tell you, how they're doing it, but that would be a big concern. And then, I don't know if it would be much turnout. I saw your statistics. If you were able to embellish and ask additional questions, would you get similar results? I don't know. So that's just general, that's just my general concern about it. I love the idea of changing the culture. I think that's
I think, like, for example, we'll take football season. The football team's not gonna go live at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're gonna be on the field practicing. So that's a time where baseball players, basketball players, wrestlers. All right, I don't wanna be rude, but your tag team method worked. You squeaked a couple extra minutes out this year. We need to move on. Board members will have additional time to talk. We have some other spots where we can comment. Thank you very much for your comments, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else public here? Going once, going twice. All right, moving on. Going to move on to general comments and questions from the board related to anything here in the school district. Starting with Mr. Blues, anything? Tanya?
I just want to say, I think it's awesome that we have a 40% discount on referendum stuff, and I would like to take this opportunity, since there are so many parents and everybody here, to say that, the stuff that is being asked of the referendum is stuff that needs to be done, roofs and windows and things that we are going to have to do because they are deteriorating. So to get it on sale at a discount by doing it at this period in time is huge. So if your refrigerator is dying, you have to buy a refrigerator. Wouldn't you rather get it at 40% off than pay full price? So I just think it's a great thing, that, that should be something that we share with everybody.
Absolutely. Lou, anything?
Yeah, just one very quick thing. To all you PCTI parents, I hear every word you're saying. I appreciate your concerns. Unfortunately, your real fight is not with us. Your real fight is with the Passaic County freeholders. Because of tuition that we have to pay, it's on their backs. Passaic County has consistently, for probably almost 10 years, contributes a mere $7 million annually to the cost of running PCTI, which has now breached $80 million. Bergen County, on the other hand, Morris County, Essex County, contribute nearly $30 million per year. And by contributing that higher number, takes much, much less of a burden off of sending districts. That allows us, as the Hawthorne School District, to provide much more for the children that attend Hawthorne schools. And quite possibly we wouldn't be here with you tonight worrying about bus stops. But that is the reality, whether you can accept it, or agree with it or not. But that's where your fight really is, believe me. That's all.
Alex, and
I just want to piggyback on what Ms. Sanford mentioned about the 40% rebate. If you have gone through, if you're aware of what repairs and improvements we're trying to do via the referendum, most of them are capital improvements. So, like Ms. Tanya said, at this point, it's like if your transmission goes down in your vehicle, you have to repair it. gives an opportunity, the state put it together in its wisdom. They want us to go through these referendum projects, and you'll get it's a 40% coupon attached to it, so. Otherwise, we'll do the best we can, like we've been doing up to this point, but there's only so much you can do, so, we'll just plug along. But the referendum with a 40% discount gives the district an opportunity for a quantum leap, so just wanted to piggyback on that.
Okay. Bruce, anything?
Just one comment on the referendum, been going around is, if the referendum does pass, it affects all the schools, obviously like K through 12, so all the schools your children are in, K through 8, if they go to public schools, and the referendum passes, it will take them 3 years to do all of this. If it doesn't, they've estimated it will take them 30 years to finish the roofs, do the boilers, do the windows, do the doors, all the different things, they're in the referendum, so that's my point.
Mike, anything?
Yeah, I do. I want to thank all the parents that came out. We hear you. We understand your concerns. We take it seriously. We do. We're parents ourselves. I think everybody here, except for maybe Lou, has somebody in the school district right now. It's something that we take and it's very important. I would ask you all guys, hey, don't be shy when there's not an issue. You guys can come out too. Today's obviously you have some concerns, but it's nice to see some board attendance from parents. So I want to say thank you for all. I know a lot of you may have some children in PCTI. Obviously you're here, but some of you will have two children. Not all will go to PCTI. So the interest in the Hawthorne School District and what we're trying to do here, because we are trying to do things that really bring us up. And one of the things we're working on right now is this referendum, and it's pretty exciting stuff. So get involved, get interested. We're gonna have a tour at the next meeting. We're gonna be down at the Hawthorne Day promoting it. We have a whole thing on our website. We can view the slideshow. It's pretty exciting stuff, and it's what your community is based on. So your home values are based on how good your school system is. Even though your children may go outside the district, it's important and it's part of your community. So I want to thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
Mark, go ahead.
To piggyback on Mike, thank you all for showing up tonight. I think it's very important to hear your concerns. And in regards to the referendum, being a newer board member, I can tell you that I strongly encourage anyone that has a doubt or concern on why some of the costs we're trying to fund through the referendum are on the table. I encourage you to come to the next meeting where we'll be potentially busing everyone to those locations, because us telling you or me trying to sell you something means nothing compared to when you actually go out there, like I had the privilege of doing, and seeing how much there is a need, not in the high school, not just in the middle school, but in all the schools that are required, which allow our children to be safer. So I encourage each of you to take that time. It's an investment in your children to come out to that meeting and spend that time, because you would be really wowed over, like I was, as to what the needs are for our facilities. And this referendum will allow us to correct those items.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple quick comments. I can tell you from the guys sitting up here for 5 years now in different seats, regardless of what brought you here tonight, whatever your issues may or may not be, it's nice to actually be looking out into an audience and seeing faces looking back at you, rather than me staring at the lovely plaques, even though they're aging on the wall. It's nice to have human interaction. I encourage you to continue attending meetings. You should not always only come to a meeting because there's something that's directly affecting you. However, that's how I got my start, okay? I wasn't a big Board of Education fan or attending meetings, but there came a point in time when there was an issue that affected my children and affected my household, and I started coming to meetings and got involved, and they sank their teeth into me, and I drank the Kool-Aid, and lo and behold, here I am, and 5 years is already over the bridge, right? But I encourage you to keep coming to meetings. That being said, everything that was said tonight, people that chose to come up to the mic and voice your comments and your concerns, rest assured, everything was heard. All right, our superintendent was able to answer many of your questions. Everything will be taken under advisement, okay? They'll be discussed at the appropriate committee levels. I'm sure Mr. Sprito is going to have some conversations with his administrators. If there's things that we can do to rectify any of these situations, we're going to seriously look at them. But no, your voices were heard, and we will address the situation, and at the appropriate time, we will reach out to you and let you know where we stand.
We'll have to be soon, obviously, the school coming up, it will be soon.
Okay, we're gonna move on to any new business, starting over here with Marco. No. Mike?
Nope, thanks.
Bruce? Yep.
I just want to plug Washington School. I was made aware that they have a jogathon as a fundraiser coming up, I believe in September. There's opportunities for businesses to advertise and, through that fundraising effort, so just be on the lookout for that. I did have a question for Mr. Sprito as far as the STEM class. Mr. Davidson, I believe, was going to be the teacher.
No, Mr. Davidson's retiring.
Yeah.
At the end of September, we hired a new teacher, Sontag, I think was the teacher, so many new teachers. I believe she was the teacher that will be running that class. But Mr. Davidson will be retiring at the end of September.
He shows that the name on the schedule, so that's thank you.
So good, anything? Tanya? Good. Anthony? Nothing for new business. Coming back this way, old business. Nothing.
I'm good.
Down the horn.
Leadership camp, had the opportunity to be in that culmination ceremony, fantastic program, and I think the ceremony was kind of involved. It's great, don't have kids in the school system, I mean, in that school at this point, but just the community effort that brings it together is fantastic. So.
Bruce? Nope. Mike? Good. Marco? Just piggyback on leadership camp. My second child, my youngest, is entering 6th grade. She participated in leadership camp. Fantastic week. Every day she came home raving and very excited about everything they did. So excited that she knows how to open up a master lock now. Some new skills she's acquired. Can't wait to get her the combination. So that's off. Great program. Keep that moving forward. Old business, real quick. Maybe it is old business, maybe it's not, but we're discussing, and Bruce, this was your, I just want to let you know we took care of it. Under technology in the referendum, we didn't have it on the flyer. The flyer's been adjusted. We do have on here now a one-to-one Chromebook initiative as part of the referendum. Somehow it had initially slipped our initial proofs of our flyers. It is now clearly articulated on the flyers, and it will be on the mailer as well. Awesome. That's it for old business. Motion to go into private.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll
Mr. Kara?
Yes.
Mr. Zerko?
Yes.
Mr. Clevito?
Yes.
Ms. Dodd? Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Ms. Chiara?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. All right, thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned. We have to go into private session.